with liberty and justice for all.
And life, would you?
Dear Father in heaven, as we meet together this night as a city council and department heads and citizens of Shelley, Father, we wish to give our thanks unto Thee for our many blessings. We're grateful for our free country to live in. We're grateful for our good community that we have, for good people that live here. We're grateful for Your hand in the weather that's around and for our good harvest that's starting. Father, we ask You to be with all those that are participating. They might be safe and be looked after, and that things might go smoothly for them, that we might be able to provide for those in the world. Father, we're grateful for the opportunity we have to meet together and discuss the affairs of the city and those in the community, and ask that the Spirit would be with us as we talk and discuss. We might make decisions that would benefit the community. Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to serve. We ask, Father, that I would watch over and protect those that our first responders and our military that keep us safe. Bless them that they might be safe in all that they do, might be able to return home to their families safe every night. So we're grateful for all these many blessings and ask and pray these blessings at this time in the Son Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Thanks, Justin. Okay, well, this is a historical night for the fact that this has never happened before, but it did happen. So we did not get our agenda posted online. So since the agenda was not posted online, we found out 10 minutes ago, we can't make any decisions. We can't approve minutes. We can't do anything other than we can talk about a few things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to, let's see, number 5, which is Corey Johnson. So Corey, we can talk about yours, and then we could, let's find out what you want to do. Come up here so this mic will pick you up, though, if you would.
Just stand out
Just
there.
stand up right there, and that mic will pick you up, so it's recorded. Steps around close to the edge. You can just stand
Wherever.
where it'll pick you up.
My idea was, as most of you know, we lost our son 4 years ago. He would have been a senior this year, and I had a benchmate that I wanted to be placed, that I wanted to donate to the city to have it placed at the skate park in memory of him. It's already been made. It's well made. I do have pictures of it. I can't even think of the wood that it's made of. It's not even Trex. Trex. There you go. Trex decking is the way that so that it doesn't have to be maintained or anything like that. It's got the metal posts on it. It's already got mounts on it to be attached to concrete and stuff like that. And then I would like to be able to put a plaque there in memory of Ethan. They would be placed like that into the concrete or something like that.
Okay.
Can you just show? Yeah, I can show everybody the picture. I can pass around the picture that actually shows the one that I've made. So that is actually the bench itself right there. I can't think of that name for nothing. I was like,
Anybody's seen it?
yeah.
Okay. No, it looks nice.
How's it anchored in the ground?
So at the post at the bottom that you saw, the footing of it and stuff, I had holes made so that screws can actually go down into concrete, and it can be attached through the screws through a concrete, so that if it ever had to be moved or anything like that, you just undo it and move it. Or it could be placed in concrete itself as well and covered with the concrete so that it couldn't be removed.
So how would we anchor that, Justin? So it doesn't walk away?
Probably need a small pad to set it on, I would imagine.
That's okay.
A small cement pad.
That's what I was thinking, was that, and I'm willing to pay for the cement as well. To get it done like that.
Yeah, we still want walking off.
Yeah, I just don't want it to walk up. Definitely that.
I like it.
I like it. I'm okay with it.
It was very obviously what I was going to do. They donated their time and their work and everything to actually have it done, so that it was done nice. So
Okay. I've got to look over at BJ.
We can't make a
We
decision.
can't make a decision.
Can we make a
You can't vote.
Yeah,
So
it's not. It won't be
if you-
official. You can express, the direction we're headed.
well,
Is
I
that
like
what
to
you're
express that I really like it and think it's a great idea.
I second that expression.
I can't second anything, but
Second that
I'm
expression.
okay if Justin works on doing some concrete. How's that sound? So, in my opinion, so
Mayor, if you, to make this right, I could repost an agenda for Monday. I have to have 5 days to do it because it's a special agenda. If everybody's available during the day, you can come in and basically ratify it. The ones that have to be, there's a couple on here that could or could not be. The rest of them are just council business. Want to just do a small meeting on Monday?
I don't know what your time is.
I work from home, and I just
No,
built
I-
a house out here in the new housing addition. So.
Well, no, I mean the timing of the bench of this.
Placing
In
it.
other words,
Like you don't have a
if
certain day
if it's
you want
not
it placed.
installed until our next regular meeting, which would be
No,
on the
that's
28th.
I'm fine. I wanted it done before it would have been like his graduation, just because his friends and everybody like that have voiced theirs that they would like to be able to be there once it's to have pictures with it once that it was placed. So
okay. Well, yeah, because Justin could do it this weekend, like this day.
And that
I
way
just
we
wanna
can look at where we want to place it. That would
Probably
be.
ought to go in there and meet with her, kind of get an idea where you would like to see it.
That'd be fine.
If it'll work.
I'd be willing to do that at any time. So
Okay.
So,
Good discussion.
so I think move forward to a point, but
right.
I hate having.
You have no idea how to stop.
I have no idea how to solve this one. So,
I know.
Thanks for bringing us the pictures. We really like the concept. We'll get back to you on our next meeting.
yeah.
That's
So
about where we're at.
So do you want me to put this back on the agenda for the 28th
Yeah, just
then
put
to
it on for the
ratify it
28th.
basically? Okay.
I can come back then too. I mean, if you want me to come back then, I can.
no, we'll just put you on there, and then if we've got any questions, we'll get a hold of you in advance.
Okay.
But meanwhile, when Justin has time on it, you guys together
Tentatively and
tentatively
look at
and look at
things.
places that it might work.
I can do that.
So,
I'm open to do that. So
okay,
okay.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
Am I being close enough to tentatively?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay, the next one on the agenda is the park subdivision, townhome, residential and townhome. This one we have two problems with. The first one is we didn't get the CC&Rs till,
The
So-
development
or
agreement.
the development agreement till noon today. So that means he hasn't looked at it.
I
he
haven't
hasn't
had a
looked
chance
at
to
it.
look at it.
I haven't looked at it. I don't think anybody's looked at it.
So those are all, nothing's changed except the one item we went from Dave Moore. So yeah, the only, everyone's seen the rest of them. The only item.
I haven't looked at it till we looked at a final version. I know there's been discussions, but
There was one that we brought to council back in whatever date.
well, it seems like we do use like a fairly standardized form. We're not trying to recreate the wheel, every time we do it. But I know everyone's a little different too, so I just want to make sure that we get a chance to actually see it before even.
And council did see, I know, you weren't.
Yeah, I remember it.
Oh,
We
okay.
came and brought it to council and went through the entire development agreement.
Oh, okay.
The only item that was I wouldn't say outstanding, but not fully included or already was how we were gonna handle the sewer, and that is item C.
That's what's in there. Okay.
We're okay going through how that is developed, so we're all on the same page to review that. Is that something that can be done so that everybody can,
On item,
it's item C is the only item that was added. That council that approved it.
yeah, it's not like a 5-page item C, right? Okay.
This is
It's on page 3.
Yeah, so it's 4C.
Okay.
There's some numbers involved in there, and so for discussion.
now.
I
Is
even
this
have a
is this
copy of
copy? I have a copy, but this has got
It's got some X's on there with no money.
Yeah, is that,
That's
is
what I
that-
got today.
oh, okay.
Okay, wait a minute, do I have a copy?
Yeah, behind your memo. No, behind your memo.
Building permits. Minutes.
It should be behind number 6, memo 6. Behind building permits.
Behind building permits.
Yeah.
I'm getting close then.
There's a lot of building permits.
Okay,
Okay, I'm go to
Item-
page 3.
item C.
Yeah, 4C under obligations of the city.
Okay, got it. I'm ready.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read a portion of it to make it simple, and this is the language, BJ,
Mhm.
is that officially what I should call you in a city council meeting?
Yeah.
Council?
I've been called
Your
worse,
Honor.
Blake. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. No, just, yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
so this is language that I've developed that obviously could be fine-tuned and if you feel necessary, but this is how I developed that language. City and or its engineer has determined that an 8-inch sewer line and lift station would be needed in order to serve the development. The cost of the lift station per supply construction contract of, and I put X's in there because at the time I don't have all the complete numbers from my clients on that, but Derek and Heath have told me that's 180,000 is what our contractors contracted to install a lift station. The city is requesting a 15-inch line from First Street, the east end of First Street, to the northeast entrance of the development. The length of that 15-inch line to be installed is 4,730 linear feet. The difference in material cost from 8-inch to 15-inch is $16.94 as provided by the developer's contractor. Total difference of $80,126.20. So what we've done there to develop that number, we asked Knife River to go to a pipe supplier to look at, and Justin and I have talked a little bit about this, to see what the difference in cost is between an 8-inch and a 15-inch line. And $16.94 was the difference in just pipe. And so don't think that there's material.
And Justin, that's kind of what you found out too? When I can't remember, we checked,
We
but
did
I,
this like 2 months ago, so I don't remember.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't. Yeah, it's been a while ago.
okay.
I think the biggest discrepancy we had before was discussion on total length of pipe that should be figured in.
Right,
I think our
and-
dollar difference was very close. So that the $80,126.20 is multiplying the 1694 times 4,730 linear feet. That's where that number comes from. So that's the cost difference if we were going to do an 8-inch line versus a 15-inch line for that stretch. The city engineer has determined that it will upgrade the sanitary sewer line in First Street with an 18-inch sanitary sewer line to alleviate the overcapacity issue that is in the line. The city engineer has determined that the development will utilize 14% of the 18-inch line. That's what we were discussing, right? Developer shall pay the city.
Is this, just so I'm keeping up, because I haven't been involved in discussions, but I want to make sure I understand. So the 18-inch line we're talking about is actually, in addition, we're talking about a separate section of pipe from the 4730, right?
Down the street.
Down
Right.
First
This is,
Street.
yeah, what it's dumping into.
Yep, from
Basically.
Basic American to
Yes.
the east
Okay.
end of First Street.
Okay.
That's
Yep.
that 18-inch line that the city engineers determined that this development will utilize 14% of that line.
Of the capacity of that 18-inch line.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
So developers shall pay the city 14% of the construction cost for the 18-inch sewer line upgrade as determined by bids at the time the city bids the project, which shall not exceed $1 million. Developers shall be credited.
One clarification on that too. Is that the project will not exceed the upgrade of just the 18-inch line
Just
will
the
not exceed $1 million, or you're talking, you're not, yeah, okay.
Yep, just the 18.
We're not talking about your share not to exceed. It's, we should probably clarify that.
of that 18-inch line.
Okay. Yeah.
Basically the First Street expansion or construction. That was our question, was, my clients feel like there's gotta be some type of maximum amount that can be figured into that. I mean, right now, the engineer's estimate's what, 960,000?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's in construction knows that there's no guarantees these days, and that include. I mean, the city would like that same guarantee too, that it's not going to be more than $1 million. We don't know. I don't know. Do we?
No.
So I mean, I think
You're
we share.
saying if it's $1 million, then your portion would be 140,000, right? And you don't want to go above that.
Basically, after saying some
Have some surety, some certainty.
I mean,
Yeah.
because if it becomes $2 million, then it becomes a negated
280.
point where there's no reason to even talk about it.
I think it's fungible because we're gonna obviously go off and seek for part of this funding from anybody else that hooks onto this line in that area. We'll get it from them. The inflated costs, if there are any, above that.
So you're okay setting this fixed, even though the city's. So really, what you're saying is you're okay limiting.
Because what we're doing,
Their
we're,
portion?
we're setting an agreement today so they can move forward.
Yeah, no, I understand. But you're
that's
saying
only
that.
fair. And
But if the city ends up getting the bids back and it's more than $1 million, we'll figure out the difference.
Yeah.
We'll cap theirs at
we'll
140.
cap theirs at 140 because that's what we're agreeing today.
Okay.
And we'll seek those additional fees from anybody else that hooks onto this line in the future. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense.
I think it's fair.
Well, I think it's fair too. I'm not saying it's not fair. It just worries me because by spring, it could either be down or it could be double. I mean,
Well, we would need to clarify that language then to make, because that makes it sound like, if the city's bid comes in over $1 million, then deal's off, right? And I'm sure you guys don't want that. We don't want it. What you want is certainty.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically, it's saying that
Yeah.
it's a not to exceed amount.
Right. And
Fair
so
to
what? Yeah. No. I'm not. I'm just saying I'm an advocate for clarity, not for one position or another.
So I'd rather.
All I'm
it be
saying
written
is
that way, that it's not to exceed. rather than-
Yeah, that's a 14% of the project cost, not to exceed,
That way, if it comes under,
not to exceed 140,000.
That way, if it comes under, it drops.
Right. Yeah. We share the drop, and it sounds like what Jeff's proposing is we capped it there, and if the city's costs go up, we'll figure out some other way to do it and still honor that
Yeah.
cap for you guys.
I think we got to move forward. That's my.
yeah, I agree.
Everybody's got to move forward, and we can't do it till next year. So we'll have to look for those costs of it. I mean, we can go back to the citizens and say these guys aren't getting a break from us. We're just setting it so that they can move forward.
Well, and it's not some number you're spitballing either, right? I mean,
Yeah, exactly. No, we're right.
we know what the number is. We ran the calculation of their percentage. They're just trying to lock it in, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds like there's a general feeling of
Of okay.
of acquiescence
Possibility.
to future
Expressed it in a word.
to future.
Just say the words, because it's really easy for It's working out really well.
Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
So, moving on, so the developer shall be credited applied to the above mentioned 14% cost. So, BJ, I don't know what we were trying to accomplish there is, instead of writing a check back and forth, if it's $1 million, then it's less the credit at 80,000.
Right. Then so that's good for me to know because the way you were talking about the cost difference above was kind of unclear to me. Sounds like what you're saying is you guys are going to pay for the upgrade, right?
No, they're
No,
gonna pay.
we're paying them for the upgrade.
So it's going to
The
cost.
upgrade goes to properties beyond this.
Well, then why would they get a credit if they aren't paying the extra? Right.
Which is
We
inside.
know because we're asking for the.
And I apologize. I'm late to the game here. I'm late.
No, you're good.
You guys probably already talked to this. Everybody else understands this. I'm just looking at the language. Okay.
Okay, so
Yes.
first one is from 8-inch to 15-inch. We're asking for that.
Yes.
For future.
Yeah,
expansion.
because you guys don't need that, but for overall city purposes, and that's where the city's taking that share. I
So
get
is our
it.
engineer asking for that because of future development?
Right. And we'll recoup that from future development when it comes.
So that is the 80,000 to start out with.
That's right, and that's on that 4730 linear feet.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a credit to them. Now.
Well, wait. Who's bidding it and who's paying for it then?
So that the cities agreed to pay the upsize from 8 to 15 inch, which is equal to
Okay, so
80,000.
yeah, so you're paying for an 8-inch line, we're
Yeah.
paying for the upgrade to the 15.
That's what I'm saying is, you can either write us a check, and then we can turn around and write you a check for our part of the
Difference.
18-inch line, of our 14% of the 18-inch line.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have checks, or we can net out.
Well, and I understand that's what we're trying to do. I just don't know if the language says it. I know where we're trying to get. I just don't know if the language is.
So I think
And I think
change
that
the
they
language to net.
But I get where you're going.
Yeah.
We want to net.
Where's the language?
So you're saying that who's planning on paying then the first bill
So basically, what
for the
you'd be looking at
15-inch
is-
line?
So the city would be.
You guys are, and then then you'd get credit for that, which would apply there. Okay, see that's the part that really wasn't clear above. I don't know if you guys are just going to pay your share. You're going to pay the overage. Yes.
You guys can get going a lot faster.
They're like, we don't care. Just
So
pay
in
the money.
in the end, they're going to be 60,000 and some change is what they would be paying
Right.
the city.
For the 18-inch line,
Yes.
for that 14% of the 18-inch line. Yeah.
Pending confirmation numbers, Justin can double check me on what prices they're seeing. That's the numbers that were provided us by our contractor, their contractor, my client's
Which
contractor.
is a benefit to the city. We're going to be paying our portion up front. They're not getting the credits.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I didn't. Yeah, because there's value to that. Sure.
We actually already purchased that material.
Yes.
We already got told to move forward, and so we actually locked in at a lower rate.
So what you're telling me
All right,
is
so
we
then
wanted
wait, deals off, wait.
we wanted it 8-inch. We want you to go back to 8-inch.
Well, we actually, yeah, in the water side, we are getting that. We actually have to now take return the 12-inch that we were asked to upgrade to. Now we gotta go back to an 8-inch, and now that 8-inch is in the market, so we will.
Wait, what?
That's item D.
So that's item D, basically
So
all.
I guess
all
we're good on C. I mean,
I mean, language, why everybody's on the same understanding, pending
Concept,
language.
concept. I think is totally on. And you know what? Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. We can't approve tonight anyway, but because that'll give us a little time to fine tune the language. But it sounds like the concept is again something that the council is inclined to accept at a future date. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I get what we're trying to say. I'll work with that a little bit. That's okay, Blake.
That's fine. I just took a stab at it.
No, you did a pretty good job. There's a couple things I'd like to, I think, clarify, but I get where we're headed.
That was at 11:50 last night, so
Oh.
I spelled everything halfway correct.
Well, I'd like to see what you could do, like in 10 a.m., when everything's still firing on all
No,
cylinders.
I gotta pick me up and we're good to go.
Okay.
Item D. So developers shall install 8-inch potable water lines throughout the development in order to provide the required pressures as required by state and local codes. So we had, from our discussion the other day, Ford's going to run a revised water model showing 8-inch in the entire development instead of doing the upgrade of a 12 from 16-inch line to the north. If we just made those single connection in Glacier, which is the main north-south road, at an 8-inch and then tried to service our entire development, we were basically 2 pounds short in a fire flow event, which you're required by state codes to have 20 psi in a fire flow event during the peak hours of the day. So we were just short of that. So the question we asked them was, I don't have a layout of the project, but if you remember the layout where there's a bridge that's going to cross the canal, if we made that connection over to Lincoln, which would install about roughly 200 to 300 more feet of 8-inch pipe, we're 19 psi by water model. Now there's some variances in the water model, and I wanted to clarify with Dave, but we were doing this at 4:59 tonight. What's the differences? Plus minus in here. Is it plus or minus 2 psi in the water model? So my question, and I was going to ask Randy, Fire Chief Adams tonight, that's in a peak flow perfect storm situation that we would be 1 pound short by water model. Now, the opposite side of that would be the minute you move into phase 2 and put the water line in, that negates that, and now you are meeting the 30 psi. As soon as phase 2 is in there, you no longer have the concern because it's done and over. So I was going to ask Randy if what his thoughts and opinions was on that. Now, the 20 pounds of pressure is what DEQ is required to do is during a fire event that a home will be provided 20 pounds of pressure so they can still shower and do those things in a fire event. It doesn't affect the overall ability in from what I understand to fight the fire. That's the minimum they want to see in a home during a fire event. So it's not like you're creating a safety risk in that situation. And that's one thing I want to bring out. The other thing is I wanted to know the plus or minus in that water model versus actuality. I mean, that's the best scenario we have in order to be able to run it versus installing it and trying it. But
do you have Dave's? We don't have it. You have Dave's sheets. That's
I don't. He hasn't. It's all via email. Yeah, all we got back from Brian in his office was you're short by a pound by doing this, but as soon as you move to phase 2, the problem is negated.
Subject to later.
So the other option that he threw out there was if you went down Center Street or 1300 North and put an 8-inch line from there over, then it negates that in phase 1. But it's not going to be utilized. It's going to be a line that sits there, and we'd probably have to create a development agreement of some sort on the north because it's going to be connected to it later sometime. So somebody on the north side would end up paying half of that line back. But as I mentioned, if you go to phase 2, the problem goes away, and like I say, you're plus or minus a pound. So the question that we have for Randy and council, I guess, is is 1 pound on a water model substantial enough to make something required differently, or is fire okay with 1 pound different?
How many homes are in the first phase?
66.
62 residential.
So, my personal opinion is none of us up here know that. So we can't make that decision unless the fire chief and Dave tell us what. I don't know the water model.
What is plus and minus?
Yeah, I don't.
Well, the chief, because you are correct on the case water, because I was talking to Randy at a different time about something else. He helped understand peak, and the peak is everybody's at home in the neighborhood. There's a fire. He's got to go fight it. He's got to have enough pressure to fight it.
And everybody in their shower.
And everybody still has water at their house. Yeah. Because if you lose water in your house, now you gotta flush whatever it might be to take care of it per DEQ. So.
And that falls. And that's part of that falls into DEQ.
Right. It's just their rule, and also.
Well, you get fined. You get fined for it too.
If you don't have enough water in your line, then that's an issue.
It drops below.
Yeah, we have to have
42
I
PSI.
believe there's a caveat in there that states that the city can decide, based on information provided, that they understand that it may drop below. There's a caveat in there too, but you'll have to touch base with Dave.
Would that excuse them from the potential penalty for the violation too?
I've never heard of anybody being fined. That's new to me, so I don't know any of that information. But
I don't know. I don't know either.
Yeah, you can be fined for it.
So
the question is D adequate as written? Is that what you're saying?
And that's basically that question needs to be asked to Randy. I was hoping he would be here tonight so that we could have that discussion with him. Because the other option is if that isn't the case, then you just install more off-site water. But where it's plus or minus right on the print, the question is do we need to do it or not? We can do that, or we can also connect to that 16-inch line, run north-south on that next road that runs Zions. We could put that 8-inch line, and then it goes away.
So it'd be a cheaper way, wouldn't it? It'd be closer.
Then going through 1300, you'd be tearing up asphalt to be able to do it, so it'd be way more advantageous to go north-south.
You don't have to put so much in.
So
those were basically those are things you'll have to work out with the engineer.
Yeah, we've got to work those out. Sitting here, we don't have the answer for that.
So that's the development agreement side. There, do we have other questions, comments that we need to meet with them?
I think that one other
Yeah.
concern.
I thought you just wanted to ask about it now.
We've got
I'm okay with
foundations
them
and stuff
asking,
going in.
saying, hey, is this going to be okay with our city?
Trying to tie in sewer.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, that is what
Yeah, but there was, in our meeting, we talked about, because there's some discussion on that. That was, if you remember, going back to the original, we were going to do a lift station. That was the original plan from the get-go.
What we have on ours.
Right. So we decided. So now we're back to the lift station again. We're thinking let's do during our time like we discussed. Maybe that's discussion. I don't know. We'd like to move forward with that assumption that we put the lift station in, and line would be at something like that from that capacity. The station 113% is what I've been hearing, which is the peak time capacity. You can't pump then, but we can pump any other time.
So
That allows us to move forward, and that the upgrade on the sewer line happen, but we don't wait till July.
yeah, so my only, I guess, when you're doing 66, let's say 60 homes and 20 townhomes. If you have a deep enough well to hold it, chances are you're not going to get half. Well, I don't know. You might have them all done before we get the line put in. I don't know. But if you could hold 60 homes, and during the peak time, then it makes.
You can pump it throughout the whole rest of the day. It's not like you have to hold it all day.
No.
Scheduled to pump.
You just can't pump.
Well,
just can't pump between.
Yeah. So you would set it up to drain it totally out right before peak time, and then hold it till after peak time and pump it out again. Yeah, and we've talked about that, and I personally don't have a problem with that. If we had a couple hundred homes out there, it might be a different story, because then it might sit long enough that it would start stinking. You only got.
Is it 28 townhomes with 56 units or 28 units altogether? Okay.
28 units,
So
14 independent
Justin,
structures.
give me your opinion.
Like he said, we did discuss this. This has been, what, 7 months ago? I personally believe we're back to the point that we all need to regroup and have another work meeting and get back on the same page.
When can you guys have that work meeting?
We can't.
You know,
So we stood up here exactly a year ago.
Yeah, I know.
About being annexed
I
into
know.
the city, and so we're I guess Knife River's asking us what are we doing on the water, what are we doing on the sewer, and they're digging and stuff.
So we need to expedite. I understand. We need to expedite things. So what can we do to make this go as quick as possible? We're just waiting on Dave, right?
Yeah, I think we need to visit with Dave and see where we're at, but I guess I think we all need to be there together because we're getting some of this he said, she said type of stuff.
Right.
We're all in the meetings together. We got different ideas and nobody's on the same page. I personally think we need to regroup and revisit this together so we're back on the same playing field and start fresh again, you know. We've talked a lot of different ways, a lot of different numbers, a lot of different things over the last 7-8 months, and I honestly can't remember them. I don't know where we're at.
Well, I mean, I get it, but I mean, we know where we're at, right? We know where we've been. We're right back where we started. We started here. We went to go lift station, upgrade the line. Now we're back to where we originally started. I agree. We need to sit down and make sure that's good. But we're really not proposing anything different than what we started.
Do we have plans for a lift station though? Because I thought you guys, the last plans I got actually showed you not having a lift station.
The last plans did not have a lift station.
assumption that the line was going to solve this added. The line was.
So don't we need new plans for a lift station?
We would have to if we're going that route.
Oh,
But
okay.
I guess what I'm saying is everybody moved forward with the anticipation.
Part of that is having that funding to go towards the fur project. The lift station, we're at another 80,000. And the plan is we didn't want to deal with any lift stations, and being directed. A lot has been Dave Noel being involved, and it'd be nice to have him here going because we're starting going down. But our concern is, when our last workstation is we were gonna try and get something moved on the fur project so it can get taken care of so we can tie into it. But now, as we're moving forward, we're getting concerned that we're gonna have homes sitting out there and no place to take the sewer. So that's why now we're going the lift station back in to protect those that are building out there. And that's where we don't want to put a lift station in. And that's why we went down the route we did for the last 4 to 5 months, is trying to avoid lift stations. And now we're getting to a point now that decision still of when it's going to happen or what's going to happen still has not been decided here 5 months later. And we don't know when that's going to go. And we've got construction going, we've got contractors ready for foundation and ready to go.
Start till June.
So you guys aren't anticipating putting a lift station in? You're not anticipating putting one in?
We weren't.
I know you weren't, but now even with this agreement.
But with time, you might.
We're not.
It all comes down to when fur gets up.
You know what? This is government, and I'll tell you right straight up. I've done development before, like you guys. Government can never rely on them. They're worthless. Okay. So
you're saying that we're worthless?
Yeah, we are. We're worthless. If you rely on us, you're more brave than I am with money. And the reason why is because it takes a long time for these things to happen. For a grant to be, the city can't go forward with it and get a grant, and so we have to wait for those things. That alone, nobody in this room knows when that's going to happen.
That's going to delay it too long, I think.
Exactly. So you have to plan to go forward with your development in a way that you don't have to rely on us and on that line. And if that means a lift station, you got to go forward with a lift station. And Dave needs to work with you in an expedited fashion so you can get that done. But that's just a reality of the fact. What's that?
Can you guys push back on Dave on your side?
We'll push back.
I'll push back on Dave.
He's correct.
He's not going to have
the funding with it. And the first meeting was, hey, we're going to put a lift station in, and everybody was like that. Then it was, let us find out. Well, what we found out was bad for you and for us. So to remedy it for all of us, it's going to take time to get the funding to get it done. And we see that.
Yeah, see.
But a lift station is probably going to be the situation, and we can help push back on Dave. I know where Justin's coming from on his side too. We don't want to jump into something that was agreed on that we didn't agree on, but we're here on this agreement, right?
What do you need to push back on Dave on? I'm not. Again, I haven't been.
Right numbers. Dave's the decision maker on whether it works
or not.
But
whether
I'm under the impression that this has to have a lift station. Regardless of whether Dave's involved in this or not, if our line's peaking out, we gotta have a lift station.
I think the biggest question is can they put the lift station's fine, right? The biggest question is can it go from the lift station to be pumped on the off-peak hours down the sewer line we have now, or do they have to put a pressurized line in down to the manual by Basic American, which is 3,000 feet away or whatever it is? I think that's the question they're asking, and I don't know that answer. We've talked so many different ways. That's why I'm saying if we could regroup for an hour, everybody get back on the same page, I think it's a really easy meeting to have.
Could you guys meet this week? You think Dave can?
I don't know if Justin had.
I've got 100 things on this Monday. I mean, I'm sorry, but I can meet probably like next Monday or Tuesday.
I don't know where Dave's at.
Dave is just getting over COVID. He's back to work yesterday. He barely made it through the day. So, I mean, I hate to blame the COVID thing, but all the enforcement employees have been going through it. So that's been.
So we just need to sign off from enforcement. to make it
My,
work.
and my question is right now, I think Justin's 100% correct. If that's the direction you gotta go to be able to make this happen, go back to the station. That there's, to me, I don't necessarily have a meeting to decide whether we can pump on the off-peak times. That's a decision that they can make from his office.
And then you guys do what you need to do, and we'll move it heaven and earth. Make sure you can get there.
Because I think
But
the original model, if I remember right from our discussion with Dave, was that it would work, but he wasn't quite sure on it because we hadn't got our model done. And so then we did the model and found out that we're way over capacity on that one. So at peak hours. So I'm guessing it's a call to Dave. Dave, what does it look like back with the model of the lift station and can we at off peak hours? So it's just a call that we can make today. So do you have time for me and you to make a call? Okay. Then I will find Justin wherever he's working at Spud Day tomorrow late afternoon, and we will call Dave and we will get an answer.
Are we clear on what, when we're talking lift station
You know
2?
what we're talking about.
Okay.
I know what we're talking about, and Justin knows what we're talking
Like
about.
capacity wise, I mean, I'm sure that not all lift stations are created equal, so.
They just have to design based on the number of amount of loads anticipated. And we'll be basing it on a 15-inch line capacity because the city has to have that 15-inch upgrade. So that 15-inch upgrade will take place.
So we won't likely be oversized for our phase one. We don't need right now, but.
So we'll get with Dave to tell him the 15's been decided, having to go back to what it was before, because I don't remember that. I don't recall. We have to go back.
Okay, so
me and Justin will call
like
Dave
you and
tomorrow.
Justin are gonna call Dave.
We're gonna call
tomorrow.
Dave tomorrow, so we call him and have him at least tell us what he knows, what he doesn't know, and then we get a hold of him. I'll tell you what he has.
Yeah, the plus
Well, the
minus.
plus
While you're
minus
on
on
the
the
phone,
one.
ask me about it.
You can ask him. Because he might know, he might not know. And he probably would. Because he's been out with COVID, he'll probably send it back to somebody in their office. But we'll ask him tomorrow. But we got that.
I guess if that's the case, do we want to have a discussion? How we do all of that.
Our station would be oversized more than what we would need. So just the cost of the pipe, the HC 15 inch. Lift station, because now it's
Doesn't it have to be oversized to accommodate that to be held until it can be pumped on off-peak hours?
for an 8-inch line, yeah. Cover an 8-inch line.
So the wet well doesn't have to be bigger to hold it, Justin? When we talked about that.
15, I would say yes.
But you gotta realize if we do the first street, get the grant, do the first street, we don't need to hold it. So then we don't need the upsize.
But if it takes us 2 to 3 years
Yeah,
to
'cause
even
we
get
don't
the
know when
ground
the
and
bird's
do
gonna
the
be done.
work,
Well, I
and
realize
they
that.
have to upsize it for the wet well upsizing.
I understand that, but if they upsize it to their subdivision, so it takes care of their subdivision, that's all they have to worry about. Then nobody else could tie into it, the upsize line, until we get the first street project done.
But if they went with the 8-inch line, in order to hold it, they'd have to upsize the wet well.
I think Sandy just do an 8-inch up to their capacity.
for that.
If they can work off of an 8-inch, they're designed, but we're asking from the 8 to 15. In my mind, I would think if they designed it all with an 8-inch to match.
Well, that's what I think.
agree.
That would service.
Because you're not putting any more flow
The what
through
well
the
too.
15 than what we would.
I believe so. Like I say, somebody's going to different day.
That's what it's all about.
See, I thought that's what Dave
They're not
told me,
gonna
is
have all
that
their
the wet well would have to be upsized if it was gonna be held and sent out during off-peak times, but maybe I'm wrong. But I thought that's what Dave
And
said.
you can change your pumping cycle times, so you program that to be, okay, yeah, you got your high, or your pump on, pump off. You can adjust those so that it's lower, and or you can do a programmable, so that you're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna pump, irregardless, I'm gonna pump at 5 in the morning, 10 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon, and then not again until 11. So that you just program your system to run according to when you want to do it versus based on flow. Sometimes it may be pumping less.
And they're not gonna have that many homes online until.
No, what I'm getting at is there's no sense upsizing it to handle a 15-inch line
I agree.
Yeah.
if we're putting the First Street project in, even if it takes us a year and a half.
Don't over-engineer the post.
Yeah, it doesn't need to handle a 15-inch line.
So the question I have at that point, so the 15-inch line has been installed for the south end of phase 1 to basically going up to 1,300 volts. Phase 2 happens, so that either that line's got to continue south at a 15 to eventually abandon the lift station, or that line going south could remain smaller, pull everything back to the north of the lift station, and then pump everything back down. Because the lift station would be installed south end of Division 1, not at the southwest side of Division 2.
North end of Division 2, south.
Okay, so originally you guys were gonna put the lift station at phase 1, then you were gonna move it to phase 2. I know that for a fact. Right? Yes.
We talked about that one time down there. The thing we talked about is, if it's going to replace, we're gonna keep the lift, if we're gonna do lift station, I would just keep the lift station. We're just throwing money away.
Yeah.
And so then we take it back to under phase 1, and we came in and visited and said, okay, if that sewer doesn't work out on FERC, can we go back to a little phase 1 and put a lift station there and just pump it and then feed everything back? Then I listened to a totally different conversation on this. The end result was hoping that we don't have to do any lift station. We're looking at what the cost is, all the way through that, because that was kind of what we were looking to do. Put a temporary, a shallow temporary station down at the base of phase 2 was no discussion, because it was only going to be a temporary thing. There's been 4 or 5 different directions. So I think we'd rather just put the station there at the base of phase 1.
Capacity because you're still same amount to that line at some point in time.
Jeff, you're still talking right there on Lincoln and Prairie. Let's say you start off right there.
No, it'd be that east street that runs more south, basically just east of the middle point. It's out there, south end of Division 1, and then all the way down.
Is that like
So
locust
you're
coming
putting
across?
you're putting them in the middle of the days.
It'd come in at FERC.
So it's going to be in the middle of the subdivision on that far side before you get to phase 2 and running it down to first.
And the reason behind that is that pressurized line can be just 60. Your cost of construction is substantially
cost less.
You're still exercising the ability for that 15-inch line to go up to 13. With that pressure line going to the south, you're still capturing the future capacity of that 15-inch. It just has to pass through the lift station.
It's going to pass through when it gets to that point. That's a great idea. Let's run it through Dave and see what he says. gotta go back to him to say what it is. I mean,
we can sketch it all out and show him exactly. I mean, if it's Justin said, we looked at this 17 different ways on Sunday. Yeah, let's come back to Sunday and get it.
Well, I think if you approach Dave with all this stuff and you guys can work through it over the next month, you won't throw you off your schedule too far. I mean, you'll still put the lines in and everything else. And
I don't think it'll mess the schedule up if
conceptually,
we have a clear direction that we're going versus
yeah.
if we're on which direction we're going, that really messes. So then,
we can't make any decisions. But
no, but you know where.
would have thought
you
be
know,
that we could talk to Dave tomorrow.
You know where piping is. You know where the lift station is.
We know where it's at, and if he needs anything further, he can get with you and get what he needs from you on whatever that is, what spec it would be or how. But I see the vision of it. I see where they're talking. The question would be is it feasible for work? I'll get that part. You've already done the model. You know you can.
I mean, we can pump it as far as we want. Just got size of the pumps.
Right.
That's a function of it. We can push it a mile if we want.
I put that in my notes to ask Dave tomorrow, so we can add that to the list. Just to clarify, so that he knows, you know, we know, and we know when he's having to go. He said, she said, they said this, they said that, so he's on the same page as you guys are.
And just our concern is just six weeks turnaround several weeks. Assuming that we can get the answers. Council meeting and
If we go back to the lift station, the language is going to change again. It'll have to be work with BJ and I on that.
Well, the date will be decided by the council. It'll either be a special meeting on Monday, or it'll be at our next regular meeting on the 28th. It sounds like.
Well, we can't make a decision today.
You need 5 days.
Special Monday.
Right.
Does the lift station have to be approved by DEQ?
Yes.
So that it's still got to all be sent to DEQ to make sure that.
So it's got to be designed, sent today for approval, turn into DEQ. They've got 6 to 7 weeks to approve it. What about the next step?
So is there a reason that we
So
need to do this in
doesn't-
5 days then?
Not in that
Doesn't-
case.
If that's the direction, there's no rush to get that way, as long as that's the direction.
to a point, you still need it in the sign.
But we know we're pretty close. I mean, if we know that you gotta have a lift station, know where it's gonna be, we can get that done fairly quick. And I just want you to be, there's no more holdups. I mean, I know there's been in the past and things have gone on, but I think, the key is now is that we work together in a way that we expedite it best for you, but at the same time, we're not being put pressure back on us, and that we're not doing our responsibility, because there's been a lot of going back and forth here, obviously from what I've heard, but I just want to see that we work forward and move forward so you guys can get the things that you need to get done, and then we'll do what we can do to make sure that there's minimal delays with our engineer. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like then I'll work with you to revise some language in the development agreement. In the meantime, you're going to get some confirmation or direction from Dave. Put this back on the agenda for the 28th, and we should have everything ironed out well in advance of that meeting to kind of know where we're headed. And hopefully by the discussion, in good faith, you kind of know what we're thinking and what we still got left to wrestle with. Sound good? Or at least good enough?
Do you want me to propose language and send it to you and Sandy?
Why don't we just talk, Blake? Because some of this, as far as clarifying 4C, I think I can do that, and of course I'm happy to share that with you in advance in case you want to have some more input. we're waiting on Dave's response to decide what, if anything, we need to do differently on D, and and then also where we would mention the lift station in the agreement as well, right? So.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
we put in, was on the C.
Yeah.
And then C, we're gonna get the plus minus on that.
You want to ask about the years?
Oh, yeah, one thing too, we noticed a little bit earlier in, what is it, 2J? 3J. Developers shall complete all improvements and seek the city's final acceptance within word 3, parens numerical 5. So we just need to clarify that. Seek the city's final acceptance within 3 years or 5 years of approval of the final plat, for the developer to complete the improvements and have it finally approved.
Remember that was a discussion.
3 years.
One of those two.
Yeah. Well, good. We got a 50-50 chance of.
The last two we put time limits on have been 3.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we've always had?
I thought
3 years?
I thought it was 3. I thought when we talked about it was 3, and you guys were like, we'd seen when I was talking about 3. Yeah.
3. Okay.
It's just written in here as the word 3, parentheses, 5 years.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I went to Snake River.
I said that in the right meeting. If I was in the other meeting, I'd say that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, okay. So we'll do 3 years on that, and we'll iron out section 4C, and then we'll have something to bring back to this group. Sound good?
Yep. Okay.
Anything else? Any notes?
Is that effective? Did that work?
Is that a good discussion?
Justin, anything else too from your end?
If he doesn't understand, we'll conference you. I know how to run technology.
Justin's got
the number. Justin's got the number.
Okay.
Good luck, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, recognize citizens from the floor. Jacqueline, you got anything?
Can I defer, do you want me to defer to the library and talk about everything then? Or do you want me to just do it now?
The library is just to clarify for our notes.
Right, okay. So, do you want me to do all my stuff now?
Just do it all now.
All your stuff.
Everything else we have to
I
skip
know.
anyway.
I know. Sorry. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank Justin and his crew for helping with the chalk competition. It was a great success. I may never get chalk out of my lungs, but because of the wind, but it's
Jackie, was there more this year than last year?
There were. Yeah, we had 49 this year. I mean 39. I gotta think about this. 39. Yes, 39. Actually 41, but 2 of them didn't count. So that's 6 more than last year. So it didn't. I don't know that it seemed that being in the same location, but everyone seemed to like it in the same location. So also the pool passes. Did you look that up so that we were clarified on it? Can you tell us what it is
So
again?
the pool passes, there's 500 passes that'll be given out. You can give them to kids 12 and under. Anybody over 12 that you give them to, the library will have to pay for those.
And that we will not need to come back and ask for those.
Yeah,
That-
so
that is
that's
running-
why we're clarifying it, is because this
Okay.
is good until 1 year we'll contact you and say we can't do it this year. So it's good forever
Right.
until it happens. But we did want to clarify it. So 12 and under within that 500 capacity, and then 13 and up you have to pay for.
Okay. All right.
Or and under 13 if it's over 500.
Yeah, if it's over 500 for kids under 12, you have to pay for it. There's a maximum of 500.
Okay, great. So we had 134 kids under 13 and 49 teens. So just so you know what we have this year. So the last thing is, and I have to word this correctly, we actually received a grant from the Union Pacific Foundation Community Ties Giving Program grant. I have to say that way. For $5,000. We had applied for $25,000, and so we were thrilled to get anything. They actually disqualified us, and then we went back and clarified some things, and so then they were able to give us $5,000. So we're going to start doing some other fundraising, and we're going to be applying for some other grants. There's a federal grant that is specifically for green space next to preschools. And so since it's next to Goodsell Elementary, and if they have if we can meet the qualifications, we may be able to get some funding there. So we're going to be looking for funding, but I may need some help with federal grants because it'll have to be under your name, even though we can help write the grant. So I just wanted to let you know that we got $5,000.
That's awesome. You're such a great asset for our community.
And did you see her chalk art?
Good.
Delightful.
Yes, it was really good.
Okay. Do we even do council reports or anything? Or just call it good?
It's up to you, Mayor. We can talk about anything else you want to talk about, or we can wait till we can decide it. So it's up to you.
Meeting